The moment I saw Meredith Cranston briskly approaching across my lawn in that stiff beige pantsuit she wore like armor and a clipboard clutched tightly to her chest, I knew my Saturday morning peace was about to be shattered. She had that determined gait and faux-friendly smile that usually preceded some infuriating lecture about community bylaws. For the past 8 years, Meredith, though most of the neighborhood whispered her real name was Karen, had reigned over the Stonegate Bluffs Homeowners Association with the iron will of a monarch and the obsessive scrutiny of a surveillance drone. I sighed and set my coffee mug on the porch rail, already bracing for whatever absurd infraction she was about to lob at me. "Mr. Dawson," she called out, her voice soaked in that syrupy tone that never reached her cold gray eyes. "We need to have a quick word about your ongoing non-compliance with community standards." I resisted the urge to roll my eyes. After 15 years as a firefighter, I'd faced blazing infernos, collapsed buildings, and tragedy on a scale most people couldn't imagine. But nothing tested my patience quite like Meredith Cranston. "Good morning to you too, Meredith," I said, mustering a polite smile laced with sarcasm. "What seems to be the issue today?" "My grass is exactly 3.5 inches tall, just like Section 7 of the bylaws stipulates." Her lips tightened. She hated when residents actually knew the rules. "This isn't about your lawn, though I'll be double-checking before I leave," she said coolly. "It's about the visual disturbance your son is creating in the neighborhood." My heart stilled. I stepped off the porch slowly. "Excuse me," I said, my voice low, measured. "What did you just say about my son?" Meredith straightened her clipboard as if it gave her moral authority. "Section 12, paragraph 4 clearly states that all residents must maintain appearances that do not detract from neighborhood aesthetics or property values," she recited. "Your son's condition has been upsetting to several neighbors when he plays outside. It's distracting." The blood rushed to my head. My 10-year-old son, Logan, had survived the house fire that took his mother's life 3 years ago. The burns on the left side of his face and arm were permanent reminders of that nightmare, even after multiple surgeries. He'd fought harder than anyone I knew to step back into the world to smile, to play, to live. "You're seriously standing on my property," I said through clenched teeth, "telling me that my son's burn scars are a violation of your precious aesthetic standards?" She didn't flinch. "I'm merely enforcing the rules all homeowners agreed to. Perhaps he could wear long sleeves or some kind of face covering when outdoors. Or better yet, use the backyard where he's not visible from the street." It took everything in me not to explode. I breathed in through my nose, counted to 10, and looked her square in the eye. "Listen very carefully, Meredith," I said, every word precise. "My son is not a disturbance. He is a survivor, a brave, resilient kid. If you ever say anything like this to Heimer or to May again, I'll be filing a formal harassment and discrimination complaint." Her cheeks flushed with indignation. "Are you threatening me, Mr. Dawson? Need I remind you that as president of the HOA, I have the authority to issue fines and initiate legal action against non-compliant residents?" She jabbed her pen against the clipboard for emphasis. "You have 48 hours to address the issue, or I'll be calling a special session of the board." Just then, I saw movement in the window. Logan was standing there, peeking through the curtain. His face was unreadable, but the pain in his eyes was unmistakable. My gut twisted. Over the next week, Meredith escalated her vendetta. A formal violation notice was taped to my door, citing some obscure clause about visual conformity. She started snapping photos of Logan any time he was outside. I spotted her pointing at our house while whispering to neighbors. The humiliation, the targeting it was relentless. But what Meredith didn't know was that I'd installed a high-definition Dashcam in my personal vehicle after a hit-and-run last year. It captured a wide-angle view of our front yard and recorded audio crystal clear. Every one of her visits, including that first vile exchange about Logan, had been saved. I also began documenting everything. Timestamps, photos, interactions, witnesses. I wasn't going to just survive this. I was going to bury it with truth. The final straw came on a warm Sunday afternoon. Logan and I were washing my pickup in the driveway, the sun hitting the chrome just right. He was laughing, carefree for once. I sprayed him playfully with the hose, and he giggled like he hadn't a worry in the world. Then the shrill screech of Meredith's voice pierced the air. This is exactly what I'm talking about, she snapped, marching up our driveway with 2 other HOA board members flanking her like royal guards. Not only is he outside again, but now you're drawing attention to him with this spectacle. Logan immediately ducked behind me. His joy vanished like mist under a spotlight. Something inside me snapped. "Logan, go inside and dry off, buddy," I said softly, handing him a towel. He obeyed silently. Once he was gone, I turned to face them. "This ends now," I said, my voice calm but unshakably firm. "You are harassing a child over his physical appearance. That's not just disgusting, it's illegal." Meredith scoffed. "Please, we're simply enforcing community standards. If you can't adhere to them, perhaps Stonegate Bluffs isn't for you." "No," I said. "Let me be absolutely clear. What you're doing violates the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Fair Housing Act. Burn scarring is considered a disability under federal law." For the first time, I saw a crack in her icy resolve. "That's absurd," she said. "He's not disabled. He's just unsightly, and that's within our right to regulate." "You really just said that," I replied. "On my property, with witnesses." One of the board members, a man named Curtis who'd only recently joined, looked sick to his stomach. "Maybe we should take this up at the next meeting," he muttered. "No," Meredith snapped. "I'm dealing with this now." She pulled a folded paper from her clipboard. "Effective today, you're being fined $500 for violating Section 12. Until this is resolved, your son is prohibited from using the front yard, community pool, or any shared spaces." I smiled. "Actually, I'm glad you're here," I said, reaching into my back pocket and handing her an envelope. "This is a cease and desist letter from my attorney. Every incident has been documented video, audio, and written records, including this very conversation. My dashcam's been recording since you stepped onto my property." Her eyes flicked to my truck, where the blinking red light was unmistakable. The color drained from her face. "You can't record me without permission," she gasped. "In this state," I said, "only one party needs to consent to a recording." "I consent." Curtis took a full step back. "Meredith, I didn't sign up for this." "You can't do this to me," she hissed. "I'm enforcing the rules." "No, you're enforcing your own prejudice." She didn't leave. Instead, she marched toward my front door. "Since I'm here, I might as well inspect for other violations." I stepped in her path. She tried to push past me. "Move. I have the right." "No, you don't," I said. "This is private property. Leave now, or I call the police." "Go ahead," she shouted. "They'll support me." I pulled out my phone and calmly dialed 911. "I have a woman on my property refusing to leave. She's harassing my child over a medical condition and attempting to enter my home." When the patrol car arrived, the officer stepping out was Deputy Luis Ramariz, a man I'd worked with on a house fire last year. "Jason," he greeted me with a nod. "What's going on?" Before I could speak, Meredith launched into a frantic monologue about community agreements and maintaining standards. Deputy Ramirez listened for a moment, then raised a hand. "Ma'am, HOA policies don't override state law. You cannot enter someone's home without permission. Now, Mr. Dawson, would you like to press charges for harassment and trespassing?" Meredith gasped. "This is insane. I was doing my job." "Discriminating against a child over burn scars isn't your job," Ramirez said. "It's harassment." When Meredith tried to push past him toward my porch, Ramirez calmly pulled out his cuffs. "You're under arrest for trespassing, attempted breaking and entering, and harassment." Her screams echoed down the street. "You can't do this. I run this community." But she didn't anymore. The dashcam footage, paired with my written logs, resulted in additional charges. The district attorney filed harassment and attempted coercion charges. Meredith was sentenced to community service, fined $5,000, and placed on probation for a year. A restraining order was issued barring her from coming within 100 feet of Logan or our home. The HOA board held an emergency vote 3 days later. Unanimous removal. She was escorted out by private security. Her face was red with fury. But this time, no one whispered Karen. They just watched her go. And as for Logan, he played in the front yard that afternoon with our golden retriever, laughter ringing freely under the open sky. No clipboards, no stairs, just a boy being a boy, exactly as it should be.